a lot of experience on this course, and you know, there's no natural hills. It's a racetrack, but we've got the whoop-de-doos on one side of the course, got the hay bales on the other, and sloppy footing on the way. And Dathan, you won the Nationals a couple of years ago in San Diego, which also didn't have a lot of hills, but the heavy footing makes it real cross-country.
Yeah, you know, that can take the zap right out of your legs, and that's where that strength really comes into play.
You know, Rich, it's been a strength person's course, but last year, Reed Connor ran 15 minutes and 14 seconds. That was like 30 seconds faster than it ever run on this course before, and that's because of the conditions.
Right, and it's not necessarily an easy course now. It's just as easier than before when it was very difficult, when it was muddy. But once again, this does favor those who go out quickly. The field is so talented, and the actual path is not that wide that if you lose contact, you will pay the price here. You've got to maintain contact on these conditions where the footing is much better than past years.
Dathan, it's a fine line. You want to get out, you want to get it hard if you want to have a chance, but you also can't get too emotional up front, and that sometimes can happen into these big meets.
You can bury yourself in that first couple minutes if you're really not careful, but you have to be sure you're ready. I mean, you have to find that fine line, because you can't lose contact either. You lose contact, you take yourself out of the race as well.
Well, you said that happened to you at one of the World Championships where you knew what you had to do, but then you maybe hadn't prepared as much in order to do it.
Sometimes you got to be confident in knowing exactly where you are as well, and I think that these kids, you know, they've gotten this far into the season. Hopefully those guys know where they need to go out at.
Rich, we've already seen our open races, the girls and boys running together, and there were some pretty fast. 5:15 was the girls' opening mile in the open race, 4:56 the boys' opening mile. So that sort of told the championship athletes that this is a fast day. So you expect to see Zach Wills up there. He's a short guy from Mason, Ohio. You got the two red-headed tall Roses, they're more mature in many ways physically than some of these other athletes. Don't you agree?
Right, I definitely do. The maturity here, the strength is a key. Elias Gedyon's the same boat. Elias Gedyon and the Roses are very, very similar in their style and their gifts, although Elias has a bit better leg speed. Additional ones, you know, Parker Stinson out of Texas. Actually, Texas has a lot of great individuals in this field, and they prefer this kind of a course layout rather than the mud.
We got 30 seconds before the start of the Boys Championship for NXN 2009. And, of course, Dathan, the nerves are just flying all over the place.
You can see these guys jumping around. It's not just because of the cold. They're ready to go.
And this is where you got to get out, and of course it's a wonderfully wide starting area, so there's plenty of room for all the athletes and the crowds. There's thousands of people out here at Portland Meadows today, lots of parents, lots of family, a lot of friends, and they're all going to be cheering these kids on in the biggest meet of the year. They're all on the line. 31 degrees. And off we go. The Boys Championship race for NXN 2009 is underway. And just a reminder that every time we go past one of the kilometers, we will have on our stat screen how the teams line up. And we'll do that 1, 2, 3, and 4 kilometers, and then we'll shut that down and wait the final results. But you know, we also have to peel out, Rich, the individuals in there, so things can change between that 4K and 5K.
Right, and not just scoring wise, but that's a really key technically, where if you are a team runner, if you're a very good number one and a very good team, the question is, do you go out with the Zach Wills or a Rosa? Do you possibly take a risk of maybe going out too hard, where if you fall off, your team pays the price, or maybe a bit more conservative? So it's decision time for these top individuals on the top teams.
Oh, well, we were talking to Billy Klimczak from Naperville cross country out of Illinois in the Midwest, and he was saying the same thing. Their number one man, Aaron Beatty, is going to try to go out, and the rest of the team is going to go a little bit more conservatively. Now, they're 6 seniors, so they got the experience, and then they're going to try to come on late. That works for them. Other teams are going to try to have that really short, you know, time spread, 35, 40 seconds, and that's their advantage. There's a lot of different roads to roam.
There definitely are. The one thing here this year, we have a better field parity-wise, strength on top than in past years. There are several teams well beyond close to a dozen teams that can win this. It's a case now, who steps up? One of the great dark horses here is going to be Cedar Park of Texas. They have a phenomenal 1, 2, 3. If either their 4 or their 5 step up, that could really, really pull off a major upset here.
So Craig Lutz, number 103. He likes a fast early pace. Then number 303 rather, Craig Lutz does usually these mid-race surges. He was 5th in this race last year, 1 place behind Joe Rosa. So he's got the credentials, and then he had a disappointment, 3rd place at the South Region. So that bad race is helping lift him.
And this is very interesting right now. We've got Zach Wills. He's in that front pack right there, number 304. And he's looking around, as was Lutz. They're trying to see who's going to do the work. So I'm a little bit surprised they're not forcing the pace a little here.
Little conservative, don't you think? You can just see it by their looking. Dathan, this happens all the time. You get these loaded fields, and everyone thinks it's going to be crazy. Colin Mearns is also one of our region champions is in there. And it turns out that everyone's intimidated by everybody else.
That's right, Tony. It's just like in track. You know, sometimes those guys, they look around and they see how many other great guys there are. And that's what happened to us, like in the World Half Marathon Championships just recently. Everybody sat around, and it really took a few kilometers to really get the race going, and we might see that today as well.
Look for 3:99, Colin Mearns. He's the Southeast Region champion, and he wasn't highly touted, but at some point these guys are going to let it rip.
Looks like now they're picking up the pace, and that is Rosa right there on the right.
But that's Zach Wills, the shorter of the two, closest to the camera. The two Rosas are in their caps.
There's Lutz also in the background, using that lead pack of 4 as well.
So that pack has sort of established itself.
Yeah, they must have picked it up a little bit because they definitely showed some separation.
Elias Gedyon is in the orange outfit.
Right.
And once again, he is a Division II champion out of California who didn't go out hard, as he said earlier last year. And this year he knows in order to have a chance, you've got to put yourself in position.
He's an excellent racer. He's unbeaten this year, and he's, in most of the cases of the big races, he's actually held back. Talked to him after the races, I went 80%, 85%. He has not put it all out this year, trying to save himself for this very race.
And here's the sloppy part of the course before they go to the whoop-de-doos. And it's also, we want to load that Joe Rosa is the one in the gold singlet. And Bernard Lagat came to their room on Friday night to give him that gold singlet. And he just had this goofy grin on his face after telling us about the story about Bernard Lagat coming to his room. And that's quite an honor. So that's the difference between the Joe Rosa and Jim Rosa, both wearing the caps, but Joe has that gold top on.
And we saw going through his whoop-de-doos, that was Craig Lutz out of Texas, definitely making a move right there, trying to break from the pack. We'll see if that holds up right here.
Well, this is what he's done in the past again. Fast early pace, but then a mid-race surge, and yet they're only 4 minutes and 10 seconds into it. And here we have our first update. On our stats screen, the Woodlands Cross Country with a narrow lead over Rhode Island Cross Country. Bernie out of the South, German Cross Country. Now this is very shocking because German Cross Country and Rhode Island Cross Country were surprise winners in the Northeast, and here they are at the Nationals. It's second and fourth, at least after 1 kilometer.
Right, this is very much northeast weather, but also keep in mind that the first kilometer is usually much interchange from that point on. Everyone is in a big pack in that first kilometer, so sometimes those scores can be misleading. The race will develop in kilometer number 2.
Well, you know, last year, our champion, North Spokane, they were leading at 1K, probably leading all the way out through the competition. So sometimes it works where people come from behind a little bit as a team. Other times people have gone to the front and maintained like our last year's champions.
As we can see, our top 3 teams are separated by a total of 47 points, so it's very, very close to that first kilometer. And once again, there's big packs here in the stage.
Yeah, and even though we still have, you know, essentially a 4-man pack in front, there's not a huge gap to that next group. Dathan, what are you seeing?
Well, I see that Joe Rosa definitely moved up to the lead, and I think that did separate down to 4 there, where we had about 8 guys hanging in there right behind. So, but they're not pressing it too hard because the separation hasn't really broken wide.
When you have it shoulder to shoulder to shoulder, that as opposed to accordioned out.
Yep, you know when things get lined straight up that that's really going fast, and so you still got a pretty tight pack here.
And here we have the Roses leading the way over the hay bales. Zach Wills, Craig Lutz right there. Zach Wills. Here's the chase pack. And again, once again, you guys who are watching, and I know there's a lot of watching parties out there. We're so happy you're with us here at Portland Meadows, and hope you're rooting for your team. And once again, our lead camera will lock down at the finish, so we get to see everyone streaming across the finish line. I know, Dathan, we always get frustrated at the marathon. We watch the champion go through the chutes, and we miss the guys we've been following. Who finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th? Well, today at Portland Meadows at NXN, you'll see it. And here's, once again, this is our lead pack with Joe Rosa, the gold singlet.
And now we see Parker Stinson out of Texas right behind Craig Lutz on the left of your screen, moving to that lead pack. Amar Musa from Arcadia, California, also up there with Gedyon to his left.
And Amar Musa is, again, a Division I California champion, but he's the one with the least experience of the top guns in this field.
The least experience, but so far from what I've seen this year, the most determined kid out there. He's a bulldog, so we'll see if he can hang with these superstars from around the nation right here.
Dathan, they look well in control, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They don't seem like they're pressing too hard at this point, but you got so many different strengths in there. You got the 10K junior national champion. You got guys who run 152 for 800, so this is going to be a great race.
And Rich, you were just warning to me that the rest of the field is essentially stacking back up.
They close the gap, and actually I see all 5 Californians now in your frame right here. It's very interesting on that stretch. It's a little bit surprising, actually, but once again, we have the Milo, so to speak, the big part of the pack has now caught the leaders. This is a bit surprising because some of these runners have apparently changed their strategy. We'll see how it plays out, because this kind of a strategy now brings in the strengths of other runners in the field, and it opens the door wide open.
Well, once again, if they let Elias Gedyon stick around all the way to the end, he's number 295.
He's sitting right there, ready to pounce.
The big, tall Ethiopian-born man. He's the one that's got 152 and 408 speed, and it's a fairly nice stretch. There's a little dip just before the line, so that could sort of break your stride a little bit. But nobody has seen. Here goes our 2K splits. The Woodland still in front.
And the gap is actually open
south
here.
Boerne and Rhode Island. So Rhode Island, a very strong performance, buoyed by their positioning at the Northeast Regional, have come to the front. They had nothing to lose. These two teams from both Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania, they had nothing to lose, and they're proving it.
Right, definitely. And also, you look on your screen, 6th place, Manly is once again running without their number 1, but really stepping up here. The Northeast and New York showing very well, but on top, Texas going 1-3 with the Woodlands and Boerne champion.
So we have the Roses, Joe on the left, Jim on the right. We have Craig Lutz in the blue in the middle, Elias Gedyon behind Jim Rosa, and Zach Wills right in there as well. A 5-man pack established, and once again, the Roses in charge, in control, run spectacularly all year long. And this is more of a Dathan. They look more like, at this point, 8 minutes and 43 seconds into it, more determined. They still haven't gone all out, but it's seemingly a little bit more determined to pace.
Yeah, you're right, Tony. And they have each other right there. I think that's definitely a comfort for them. They're showing that they're confident, and it's just like any other race for them. They do seem more comfortable.
And here we have our first time where it goes single file, as Joe Rosa has begun to do what he's done all year long, and that is put down the hammer. Zach Wills now comes in front. Elias Gedyon, perhaps just a tad of jeopardy. Still looks good. But if he's a rhythm runner, Rich, and this is more of a strength runner's course, so if he can stick around, his speed becomes an advantage. But until that time, he's got to use that strength, which is not his number 1.
Actually, he actually does have very good strength as well. He's at the Mount Sac course record for both freshman and sophomore classes in this year, as well as the junior class. He's in 3rd. Once again, he does not want the lead. He never wants to lead until late in that last kilometer. He's a very smart runner.
But now he's moved up. That basically answered the question that I had, Dathan, that was he starting to fade a little bit? And the answer was no. As the Roses put on just a little bit of a move, he moved right around and put himself right back in position.
He's sticking right where you want to be if you're the best 800-meter run on the field. You want to be sitting right off their shoulder like that.
And look how low his shoulders and his arm carriage is down low and easy.
But you look at the Roses, and I'm impressed. They have very, very, very good, efficient form too. They may not be those fast 800-meter runners, but they look very confident. They're very comfortable and smooth.
And Rich, one of the things is that you find is none of these guys, for the most part, have had to use kicks because they're so dominant.
Right. Now, right here, last night there was a great Q&A with Galen Rupp as well as Lauren Fleshman talking to some more elite individuals about, this is a race where for the first time there's people around you. What do you do as far as going ahead and keeping your poise? And it was, for the most part, it was just a case of stick with your own plan and realize that when things don't go to form, that's when if you pack it in or if you stay focused and fight back, will be the difference between staying in contention for the win or falling apart.
So the Woodlands maintains the lead in the team competition, and it's a 5-man pack in the individual race. And this is, again, the second year we've had individual champions here at NXN. Here's a look at our chase pack.
Right, and right now they're going through what's known as the East Bay, and that's considered the worst part of the course right here. The mud and the water, their standing water is very, very bad. Other than that, the rest of the course is a little bit better footing, but that's the one key point right there where you have kids go down.
We're just over 11 minutes into the competition. Reed Connor from Texas won it last year in a course record 15-14. We don't want to get hung up on records. Dathan and I were talking about that. Joe Rosa now. Rather serious. This is no nonsense.
We have the Woodlands, once again, the Woodlands and Boerne champion going 1-3 through 3 point in time.
Texas 1-3. Right. South Spokane in second. Albuquerque, who was beaten in that 6-man tiebreaker in the Southwest, is now back in 4th place. They're doing a great job. North Spokane, defending champions after losing their top 3 men, boom, in 5th place.
And our top 3 teams separated by just 29 points, and we've seen the packs on the chase of that lead pack right there, so it's very close. This thing is still, there are several teams in contention. We've got a total, looks like, of 5 teams within 60 points.
And once again, Dathan, it comes down to in cross country, this team sport element is that every split second, every body width becomes important.
Well, that's the important thing. You know, you have those 6th and 7th runners that may not score for your team, but they do displace other runners, and so you don't know necessarily who that runner is on that team.
It's why the team element in running, we all begin with cross country, and then we sort of go into this individual competition, and there's so much more passion, I think, when people can talk about running for something more than yourself.
Yes, definitely.
So once and out, Craig Lutz has answered the challenge of Joe Rosa.
And he seems to be throwing it down pretty good here. The pace has definitely picked up, and they've dropped a few of the other people hanging close by.
It looks like Jim Rosa has gone from that lead pack, and now it's Joe, Craig Lutz, Elias Gedyon, Zach Wills.
And that appears to be in 5th. That would be Sherrod Hart out of Arizona. Now in 5th, a bit of a surprise there. Nice move by Sherrod Hart.
Now, he's done well at the regional level, but we didn't have him as a big gun here at the Nationals. Joe Rosa head up, very nice, but beautifully erect posture. And look at the shoulders. I mean,
here goes the gloves.
There goes the gloves. So basically, the gloves are off figuratively as well.
They're all slipping down.
Really. And we are close. Rosa, Lutz, Wills, Gedyon, Hart.
So we did figure beforehand it would be these 3 right here on your right, Rosa, Wills, and Gedyon, and a little bit further back is Lutz, but actually he's right there with them.
And this is going to the last little bit of the course too. I mean, this is going to be a great finish.
We have our 4K scores as well on the screen. 4K scores now. South Spokane in the lead, 3:48.
Bernie not far behind Albuquerque, Wilmette, and the Woodlands. And again, everyone within 50 points within 40 points of one another. It is so close here as Joe Rosa has now made his move once again.
He seems to be putting on a little bit of separation. I think he might be getting away.
He's close. You still got Lutz right on his backside, though, and Lutz has got that international experience as well. But Rosa has really made a strong surge here, looking for this win to cap off what has been a brilliant season.
Now, this is the exact same point last year where Reed Connor made his breaking move to go ahead and take control of the race and go for the win. Rosa and Lutz is trying to hang tough here.
You know, looked like Lutz was having a hard time a little bit earlier, got himself back together, answered as much of that move as he can, but he's got a bit of a gap now. Joe Rosa really gone to those arms.
Down the home straight, here we come.
He's looking great.
Joe Rosa was the big favorite coming in, and now he's got some strength and speed matched up. And he could feel it now, Dathan. He feels this victory in hand, going undefeated in 2009, the best field we've ever had at the boys' individual race here at NXN.
He's coming right down, but you know, Lutz isn't giving up either. Lutz has
got some speed. Here comes Gedyon as well.
Gedyon, man. Yep. Here's the 800-meter speed is coming into the finish now.
Here we go.
Man.
Can he hold the ball? Lutz goes to the front. Here comes Gedyon. Lutz wins it. 15 not officially.
Timed it just right. Here comes Musa in 4th. Zach Wills trying to hold on for 5th. Sherrod Hart in 6th. And Parker Stinson in 7th. And now comes the team battle. Wow, there we go.
What an easy finish.
Great move. David Osborne was right in there from the Midwest. And now it's all about how many places can you get in those last 30, 40 meters. There's a Bernie man going by 3 runners in the final stretch.
And you see how many people coming in at once. I mean, one second can make the difference of many, many points.
We just had 8 kids cross the span of 2 seconds. So there are 2 15 points right there. Team shift, once again, another big group coming across here. Very, very tight.
Bird Hills from the northeast. North Spokane just coming across the line, just over 16 minutes.
Around here real quick. Let's go. You're good.
This is why so many people collapse at this line, Dathan. You were the king of the collapsers. I don't know how many races I ever saw you across country when you ever stood on your feet at the end. You had to finally get yourself back together to take your award.
I don't think I like that.
So that's why we love you.
Well, you see this many people coming together too. You know, there's definitely going to be some tangle-ups as well.
No, but again, the dry conditions, everyone pretty much staying upright. Great job by the officials through the chute system because it's a pretty narrow chute. These kids are charging hard. Still under 17 minutes. Boy, they said, you know, in that boys race, the people hadn't had a kick that Joe Rosa had all the strength. You know, just Lutz held it together. He looked like he was going to be one of the first guys out. He held himself together. The moment of crisis came. He weathered it, and then he found that gear at the very end to take the title.
Definitely 904, 903 for 3,200, and we had Gedyon right behind. Gedyon also snuck in front of Rosa right before the finish line to take second individually. It was really interesting, once again, those early tactics there. I thought that Zach was going to take the pace out hard. We saw it last year when that happened in the race. The Rosas couldn't counter. So I thought maybe Wills would go ahead and stick to basically his forte and put the pressure on Rosa. Didn't do that. Held back, and that pace was pedestrian for that first kilometer.
And guess what? Every one of these top three guys, in fact, four
It's a great year. It's nationally, junior class is extremely strong this year. The best, non-senior group we've seen in a very long time.
Well, we know that Gedyon set the junior course record at Mount Sac, and all these guys are going to be back in 2010.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It is amazing.
So these rivalries, again, this is what happened when you guys in high school with you and Ryan Hall and Alan Webb sort of built that rivalry, Dathan, and you've extended it, and that's what helped bring the United States back together to the top. It can't be just one guy.
No, that's that synergy that has to happen. A couple years ago we had Jeremy Fernandez, Chris Derrick, Lucas Skedra, and now in our group in 2010. And so this group is another one that's going to just keep that American distance running going.
You talk a lot to these kids, asking who the running heroes are. Like obviously names like yourself and Ryan Hall come up, and for the girls it's Kara Goucher and Shalane Flanagan, etc. But a lot of them are like Colby Lowe's and the Luke Puskedras, the kids who were just before them in these schools, who see them here at NXN and see how well they perform, and next thing you know, kids need heroes, because I want to be that guy or I want to be that girl. Well, there's a lot to emulate out here at NXN 2009, and there's a picture of Joe Rosa. He's got to be proud of his, you run, most of everyone you talk to, Dathan, says, if I run as best I can, then I'm happy with my place. It's not like winning or losing. It's like, did I get the best out of myself?
Our coach, Mark Whitmore, in college, he always used to say, run what you're capable of. You can't run better than you're capable of. And so you can't expect miracles. So you have to be happy with if you ran a good race.
If you didn't run as hard as you can, then you've got something to be sorry for. But if you ran as hard as you can, then that's representative of who you were on that particular day. And we talked to Joe Rosa, and I said, you're the big favorite. He says, yes, but it really does come down to whose day is it? Who really runs the best on that particular day? People have said to me, yeah, I was champion, like the manliest girls said. No, we were champions of that day, with the best of the nation for that one particular race on that particular starting time.
And then you see that with the top three finishers being only 1 second apart. Someone's day comes down to less than a second, and that's pretty.
It's amazing.